Hello, welcome to Speaking of Authors. I'm Susan Tarnowski, the General Manager of the Edina Arts Center. Speaking of Authors seeks to tell all of the stories that the author writes in the book, the stories the author has lived, the way the author writes, the reason the author writes, and the stories that the readers and viewers experience as they read those words. So I think it's particularly important today because our author is Kim Kane, and Kim writes based on stories. Stories she shares, stories she hears, stories group of women tell each other in their friendships. Kim Kane is the author of Sparkle On. And I think you're going to enjoy her. Not only has she done this book and has a second book in progress, but she is an influencer on Facebook. She has a Facebook site that has over 3,000 followers, even though it's only been up for less than a year. So we've got lots of ways to experience what Kim is bringing to us. The quote that I'd like to start us with is from the back of her book. And she says, "Aging really just means living. And for that, why should anyone feel anything but gratitude?" So today, our interviewer, Barbara Lavalure, will ask him questions about aging and aging with humor and aging with gratitude. Hello, Barbara. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you, Susan. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with Kim.
Yes, me too. I'm excited to hear this interview, so let's bring Kim in.
Yes. Kim, I am so happy to meet you and to ask you questions about your book, Sparkle On, Women Aging in Gratitude. What a fun book. And I'm going to start off right off the bat and tell you what I really enjoyed the most about reading your book were your punchlines that you had at the end of many sentences. Not all, but many sentences. And that so revealed your humor and pointed out your wisdom as well as other people's wisdom and beauty. So is that a style that you just picked up for this book, or have you always been that way? I mean, you seem to be somewhat of a humorist.
You know, it's funny you would use that word humorist because I was first introduced as a humorist from the publishing place, isnt, that I went through for the book. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not a humorist. Mm-hmm. And the more I learned about that, I guess I'm learning to embrace it because it is sort of my style. It's sort of my trademark way of putting a funny to maybe something that is sensitive, to normalize it a little bit, but also to give it a little bit of it happens to everybody. And sometimes I find humor is the best way to get to people to help them understand maybe a point that I'm trying to make.
I think you're accurate there. And I think it's very effective, and makes reading the book totally enjoyable.
Great.
You used an interesting process, in my opinion, for getting information to write your book, and that was meeting with groups of women. So I'd like to hear about how you did that, if you knew them beforehand. Some of them clearly you did, but I didn't get the sense that you knew them all.
Yeah.
So tell us how you did that.
So it started off with me turning 50 and thinking that everything is falling apart and I can't possibly be the only woman who is experiencing these weird things. So what I did is I went to other women I trusted and had them over for wine and cheese and crackers. And boy, once you do that, you can get anybody to talk about anything. It was such a great experience. And somebody said, gosh, you should do this with my other group of friends. They would love to answer these questions. And I thought, well, I didn't even realize I was asking questions in a formal way. I was just sort of throwing stuff out there. Mm-hmm. And I thought that would be really fun. So it turned out that friend invited other friends. Mm-hmm. And each time somebody would say, would you mind, I'd love to do this with my group of girlfriends if we had you come to our house. And it just morphed into that. But then by the end, I was trying to be more intentional to get women that I didn't know,
Yes.
also of different cultures, different walks of life, to experience maybe what they were experiencing as aging women. And it turned out to be this beautiful collective bowl of wisdom. Very, very fun for me to get to know women, but it also was the impetus to writing a lot about our experiences as we age.
You use first names of people. Are those the real first names, or are they made up names?
They're real. I did offer every woman to use whatever fun name they wanted to. And I said, I'm going to use your first name unless you tell me differently.
Yes.
And they all chose to use their first name and their age. They gave me permission for that.
That's so cool. In chapter 3, you quote a woman named Joanne, who was 70 at the time. She said, learn to love people for who they are, not who you want them to be. Offer support, not advice. Wow, those are powerful words. And I think it's too bad it takes most of us so many years to learn that.
I agree. Yeah, Joanne's a wise woman. I remember her, and she is. She had some really great things to say as a woman with a perspective looking back. I didn't at the time. You know, you hear these great words of wisdom, and they don't always come into play because you think, "Oh, I already do that." Truth is, I'd much rather give you my opinion and tell you how to do it than to wait and just offer maybe a suggestion. So I'm learning, and the book actually helped me to better formulate how to help others as we go through our aging process.
You know, I have a degree in communications, and one of the things I learned through a course years ago was that I'm not a very good listener, and to be a good communicator, you know, listening is pretty key. So you point out the importance of friends who listen without interrupting. And I wonder why the listening part of communication is not taught in courses or in college or even in high school, because it's really pretty important.
You know, I like that question because it actually creates a pause for me to think about it as I listen to you ask the question. And one of the things that women said is that they don't have anything to prove once they are starting to get to a certain age, that rather it's about experiences that they've gone through, and they just want to offer their guidance or their suggestions, but there isn't really anything to prove, and it's sort of a safe place and space to be in as we age.
I concur with that. At my age of 75, I'll be 76 in just a few weeks.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. I think that's another interesting point. Susan mentioned you as an influencer and what you've done with Facebook. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. I'm kind of excited that you use that word because that makes me feel very hip and cool right now. So influencer. I hope my kids hear this. I just want to make sure they do.
Yes.
You know, I do want to lift up other women. So that's my whole goal and intent, is to just be there to support women of a certain age and to let them understand, you know, we still have lots of stuff to do. It may be that we're not in the same career path, or maybe we're deciding that we want to do things in a different way, all those things, but it's not too late. And we really do have some great opportunities. So to be honest, I got bored during COVID. I'm such a people person that when we started to have to, you know, stay at home and isolate, I tried to figure out ways to still connect with my friends. And of course, Zoom was a big thing. And then I started just getting online and realizing that other women were sharing some of the same things and interests I had. And it was coming through in these groups called Facebook groups. And I decided to put one together called 50 Plus and Fabulous. And I started at the end of December, and we're already over 3,000 women. And we have such a fun time together. We celebrate birthdays because I think that's such a big, important thing. And I bring in guest speakers on different topics that the women have raised as wanting more information on. And then I just throw out quotes, and I try to work with women too, because I through that group offer gratitude sessions. And so I offer women to work with me.
And that's really great. I'm going to check that out.
Oh, good.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe I can be added to that list.
Yay, I hope you can.
Yes. I was touched by your friend Judy, who came to sit with you in the house that you were, I think, moving into the next day. And in that story, you talked about the importance of true friends. Do you want to share a little bit more about that and maybe that experience?
Yeah, so good pickup on your part, because Judy's my very bestest friend, and I've known her since 3rd grade. And we've gone through a lot together, and so by experiencing so much of our life together, she knows me very, very well. And it was a huge transitional time for me to be leaving, packing up our old house where we raised our kids. We had family gatherings. It was just a memory-filled home, and it was time to move on. And I was having some troubles with that, and Judy just knew that there wasn't really a lot to talk about. It was more about the experience, and so we sat in the new house before we moved in and just looked outside and just took in the view and the moment, and she really just helped me to make that transition move smoother. And I felt a sense of already a memory was created in the new house, and
Absolutely.
it started off in a great way. Yeah.
Yes, even before you moved in.
Yes, yes.
I want you to know that I'd love to meet your friend Maureen, who wants to take classes, travel, and drink lots of wine with my girlfriends.
Yes.
I think we would get along really well.
Yes, yes. Oh.
So it's not about a person's years of age, it's about their experiences, you write. That certainly makes for interesting stories. And I really believe that each one of us, male, female, has a story to tell. I just finished writing my memoir after 3.5 years. It took a lot, but it was so cathartic and fulfilling. And I think that drawing out people and finding out their stories is a way to pass on our culture and our history, not only to our family, but to our friends too. So you have mentioned about your parents and watching them age, and you used an interesting analogy about walking a tightrope. Can you tell about that analogy and say a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah. I think it has to do with respect and wanting to be respectful of the fact that these are my parents, and I don't want them to feel like I've suddenly became the parent to them. Though I will offer ... that that's sometimes how it feels. And it's not because of trying to take over or to say you can't do things, but rather to come together in a way that enriches their life because they are ailing. My dad has since passed away. My mom has had some health problems, and I think for me, I just want to be my best version of a daughter that can help in the best way possible. And that tightrope is really about me trying to balance how can I still be their daughter as well as still have the ability to maybe take care of them in ways that's respectful and honors who they are to me.
I think a lot of people are going through this kind of thing with their parents, so helpful advice. Chapter 4, you write that the only thing more precious than time is who we spend it on. That staying in gratitude proves a reality check and brings love to the top every time. I love that. How about some examples of that?
Yeah, recent, just very recent, we had our first grandson born, and I will offer that, talk about love coming to the top, that I feel nothing but love when I hold him, when I see him, when I see my son with his son. And it's a whole new world, if you will. And it's very cliche, but it's just such a beautiful experience to know that your kids are having kids and the love that you feel as a grandparent, I just didn't expect. Another example is my husband had a heart attack in open heart surgery just last fall, so we haven't even been a year into it. And I had to challenge myself to stay grateful because I was scared. And I wanted to notice all the good things that were happening to us. And so my husband and I would make a point at night while he was in the hospital and before surgery and then after, of course, to say, what is something we're grateful about? Mm. And that really got us through a lot. My husband was so grateful for the physician, the doctor who came in and walked us through all the steps of what would need to happen. And I wanted to remain in gratitude because I'm a what if thinker, and I never think, what if I win the lottery? It's always, what if, and then something bad. So I had to really work hard to remember gratitude is going to get me through this, and love will just pop right up.
Well, and gratitude is even in the tagline on your Sparkle On book, Women Aging in Gratitude. So obviously it's important. You use the phrase women of a certain age quite often throughout your book. Did you have a specific age in mind or not? I don't know if I'm an anomaly, but I've always liked the age I am. I certainly would never want to go back to other ages, even though, you know, body image wise, I might, but really, I've always loved the age I am. Mm-hmm.
And I have too. I have to be honest. I don't have any arguments about what's happened or regrets or any of those things, but I focus on women over age 50. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is that just tended to be a place where women started to have more questions about what's next. Yes. 40s, we're still with some kids at home. We're still kind of got the routine going, but 50s tended to be, okay, what's my next part of the journey? What do I want to do? What do I want to experience? So that's the certain age. It's over 50.
Got it. Very good. My eyes really widened when I read about trying new things and some people's reservations about that. I know that when I lived in Europe, I was 40 and I learned how to downhill ski in the Austrian Alps.
Oh.
That was pretty daring for me. Yes. Of course, my children at the time, 2 daughters, were skiing down the hill in a matter of minutes while I was still kind of looking at the poles. And then on my 65th birthday, I went on a hot air balloon ride. Oh. I always wanted to do that.
Nice.
What do you think I did on my 66th birthday?
I don't know. You stayed home.
No. I jumped out of an airplane at 14,000 feet.
Why didn't I think of that? Yeah.
Anyway, I do love daring things, but in my experience while I was in Europe, actually, I think that there's a difference between how Europeans look at aging and how Americans look at aging. Mm-hmm. We seem to just glorify people who are 20 or 30, and older people don't have the status that they seem to in Europe. And I have a few Native American friends who are like that too, and very much honor their elders. Mm-hmm. Anything you want to comment about that?
When I interviewed some of the women from different cultures, Native American and Somali, their culture really embraces aging and the elders in their community, and they go to them for the wisdom and for the experience. And what I found with mostly white Caucasian Anglo-Saxon women was that we are anti-aging. It's in every product. It's, when you look on commercials, you don't ever see, hey, pro-age. You see anti-aging products. And I think we need to normalize aging, first of all, and start talking about it as it is a part of the process versus this weird thing that starts to happen. I mean, we're all aging every day. So we just get to different ages and different things start to happen. But I want to be able to talk about it in a way that's normalized and not ostracized. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you 100%. We have some work to do with how we hold our aging population and what we think of aging here.
And that brings to mind the saying that I worked in a nonprofit in St. Paul, and one of my seniors used to say, every day above ground is a good day. So you think about the alternative to aging. I mean, come on, we should be celebrating.
That's exactly
aging,
right. Yes.
So is there any particular story that you'd like to share from your book that stands out or that you want to emphasize?
You know, it's not really, it's a story, but it leads me to a part of me that just likes to celebrate. And there's a part in there where I talk about women's fashions and how I met a woman who literally used a Christmas tree skirt as a poncho.
Yes.
Okay. And I had lots of mixed feelings about it, but as a result of that, I actually have women now that invite me to parties where it's Christmas tree skirts, and whoever has the most exotic, eclectic, whatever, wins the prize. And I love it. So if anything came out of that, it's just to have fun, to be yourself, and to really embrace whatever it is that's fun for you, regardless of what other people are going to say about it. I mean, obviously there's limits in some ways, but I just really want women to embrace the fun that we can have and still have.
So Sparkle On is your first book, is that right?
Yes.
Is it your last book?
No, it's not. There's another one coming out probably mid-fall, early winter of next year. It doesn't have a title because I don't know. I mean, I danced around with Sparkle On, still sparkling. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it is about women and aging and having some more fun. And it's definitely got gratitude sprinkled in there with some more storylines.
Did you always want to be a writer?
No, I didn't. And I enjoy writing, and I don't know how this happened. I really don't. I wish I could say, and then I was determined, and then but it really just came out of me having these conversations and questions of other women about aging. And I'm so glad it did, because it's really fun for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to write the book?
Once I got really focused, it was probably about a year, where I, back and forth with editors and so forth, and covers and all those things. But yeah, about a year solid.
So how and when did you start writing?
So the book came out 4.5 years ago. So 5.5 years ago. And I started to write at libraries. I went to libraries to just be quiet and just really focus. And so I wrote most of this book in a library or at a coffee shop.
Longhand or computer?
I love that you asked that. Started off longhand, and somebody said, you're going to have to transfer that pretty soon. So I'm like, oh. So then I got a laptop and started lugging that around with me. I felt very cool going to the coffee shops and typing and, like, what is that woman over there doing? Yeah.
Writing the next bestseller.
Right. I mean,
yeah. How did you find a publisher?
Oh, that's a great story. I didn't know how to do this, so I went to a bunch of different places through the Loft here in Minneapolis, and I had a couple agents that were interested, but then I learned all about how you have to give up certain things, and I was like, I don't know. But then I went to San Francisco for a writer's conference, met somebody there, and she said, oh, tell me about your book. And I was telling her, and she said, oh, we'd love to publish it. The only problem is we're out of Minneapolis. Well, okay, so
that's a problem.
Yeah, we didn't realize. And so I went with Wise Inc., and I met her in San Francisco. It was awesome.
That is a great story.
It is,
I love that.
It was meant to be.
Deja vu.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell our viewers how they can find you on Facebook?
Yeah. So so if you're interested, I would love it if you would look up at 50 plus, it's the plus sign, and fabulous. That's our Facebook group. And then I have a website that's www.kimkaneandgratitude.com. It's there that you can reach me through email, or you can reach me through leaving a comment there. And I just really want to encourage women, if they want to spend some time with me talking about gratitude, I welcome that experience. I have free complimentary 30-minute sessions with women if they want to sign up. And I just believe so strongly in trying to uplift women of a certain age.
That is terrific. I love that. I have asked all my questions, so do you have any questions for me or the audience, or is there anything more you'd like to say about your book or your upcoming book? Whatever, it's yours.
Let's see. Well, I do want to make sure that people know that this book is written by me, but it's for others too. So I want to make sure that I capture experiences that other women can appreciate. And I think for me, the biggest thing is that I just want it to be fun and interesting to be able to talk about aging. And again, back to that normalizing part, that's just so important for me. But I also mostly want to thank you for taking the time to ask me these questions and to promote the book, because I really had a lot of fun writing it.
Well, I had a lot of fun reading it, and I think it's a great book to gift to friends and family as well.
Thanks.
So, and I think it's a book that anyone can enjoy. And the Kim Kane is K. K for
Yes.
Kim and K for Kane.
That's right. And you can get the book on my website, but you can also go to Amazon and get it delivered right to your house.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or a local bookstore.
That's exactly
like
right.
to
I
promote.
do, and the libraries have it. So
Very
that's good. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again so much, Ms. Kim Kane, Sparkling On. I mean, the book is titled Sparkle On, but I think you're sparkling on.
Oh, thank you. As are you.
Thank you, Barbara, for your insightful questions. And thank you, Kim, for sharing your stories and your belief in the power of gratitude. It comes through very clearly in this interview. I would like to share one quote from her book. She says, "Women need friends. We need old memories shared and new memories made. We especially need real friendships." And Kim describes a group of women that were talking, and she says, "What moved me so deeply were the stories they shared, always describing an event and what they learned from it, and how almost all of the women in the room have been there for that story." The group says, "As a group of friends, we live life every day as a gift. We don't take anything for granted, including our friendships. We take turns lifting each other up, and when we need it, and we tell each other the truth when we need it." I believe you heard that in the interview with Barbara today. So thank you again, Barbara, and thank you, Kim. This month, we had thought we would have an in-person event, and it just was premature. So we were very fortunate that Kim was available to speak with us today. In July, we'll be sharing some time with author Joan Treppen, doing her work on people that have been inaccurately imprisoned and efforts to have those convictions overturned. I think it will be a very interesting interview. Thank you again for joining us for Speaking of Authors. See you next time.